The Texans are building something scary, and they're ready to set the league on fire.
Want it all, I won't leave a breadcrumb. Bitch, what I thought a nigga said some. Thought a nigga said some. G-Block, all we know is red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum. G-Block, all we know is red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Xander. Today we're going to be talking about one of the scariest teams in the NFL that's getting ready to terrorize this year. This team's gearing up to be one of the scariest teams for the foreseeable future, and that team's the Houston Texans. To be able to understand where the Texans are going, you got to know where they came from. So we're going to flash back to 2019, their last playoff appearance. This 2019 Houston Texans team had an amazing core, headed by DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, and J.J. Watt. An absolutely stacked squad that went 10-6 and made it all the way to the divisional round versus the Chiefs. We all know this story. They took a 24-0 lead in the first quarter and blew it. The Texans ended up losing this game 51-31 and heading home after this. Anyways, after this game, everyone knows the story of how poorly the Texans were managed for the next 3 years. Trading away DeAndre Hopkins and a bunch more of their biggest players and just completely gutting this team. But the Texans showed us a masterclass in how to blow up and rebuild. After only one season in the rebuild, they're at the back of the top of the NFL and are getting ready to be contenders. This team starts where every great team starts, with the head coach Demeco Ryans. He came from the 49ers under the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. He was the 49ers defensive coordinator after making his way up the ladder in the 49ers building. And then he was hired last year to be the first-time head coach of the Houston Texans. I just want to take the time to mention that he saw Kyle Shanahan's rebuild of the 49ers, and perhaps that's why he was able to do such a good job with the Texans. Next up is their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowic. He also came from the 49ers, getting his start with Demeco Ryans. He served as the passing game coordinator in the 49ers before coming over to be the OC of the Houston Texans. And so far, he is not disappointed, as he has led one of the best passing attacks in the league with a great run game to go along with it. Under him, this Texans offense has absolutely been setting the league on fire. Speaking of fire, you guys should check out some of the fire gear they have over at Ape Industries. These guys are really cooking. If you go to apeindustries.com right now and use the code footballtimes22, you'll get 5% off of any gear they have on the store. All right, now it's time to talk about their DC. Their defense is led by their coach, Matt Burke. He was coaching defensive line in Arizona before he was brought over to be the DC, and now he's heading into his second season as DC, and undoubtedly, he's turned this team absolutely around from one of the worst defenses in the league to one of the best. So no doubt the Texans team did a great job scouting and picking these coaches. Next up, we need to talk about the humongous draft selection of C.J. Shroud. They picked C.J. Shroud second overall from Ohio State, and I know Ohio State's quarterbacks don't have the best track record, but C.J. Shroud has not disappointed. He led his team to the divisional rounds. He has led his team to the divisional round since the first time since the loss to the Chiefs. And while he was at it, he threw for 4,100 yards and 23 touchdowns, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year and looking like Squidward in the same season. And this team has gone on to only upgrade since last season. And the whole league is on notice knowing the competition they're about to face. Even the Chiefs are gearing up to have battles with the Texans. The first big move the Texans made this offseason was the acquisition of Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs had 1,183 yards last season and 8 touchdowns to go along with it. He's still absolutely a star in this league, and getting your young quarterback a star receiver is always a great idea. And don't forget, the Texans already have a number one receiver in Denico Collins, so Stefon Diggs is going to fit right in the slot, eat up coverage, and kill it next year. And they had a great secondary receiver in Tank Dell, who's now the third. Unfortunately, Tank Dell is recovering from a gunshot wound right now. So prayers his recovery goes well, and if it does, the Texans will have the best receiving core in the league. The best 1, 2, 3. Now, a lot of people, including me, have some concerns about Stefon Diggs in the big moments. I mean, Stefon Diggs didn't have a 100-yard game for the last 13 games of last season. But like I said, the Texans are going to use him much differently than the Bills did. They're going to put him on inside and slot and let Denico Collins keep playing X. And don't forget, the Texans still have Dalton Schultz, one of the best tight ends in the league, who with this great receiver play is primed to pop off. Then, to top off all that great offense they had, they went ahead and traded for Joe Mixon, who had 1,084 yards last year. And with how good the Texans O-line is, he's only primed to do better than that. This Texans O-line is absolutely stout, led by Laramie Tunsil, one of the best left tackles in the league. Now for the Texans' defensive improvements. First off, we're going to start with who they lost from last season. They lost both Jonathan Greenard and Blake Cashman to Minnesota. So yeah, losing your DN and your linebacker is never good, but they brought in guys to replace them. The first guy they brought in was Danielle Hunter from Minnesota, who had 16.5 sacks last season. Then they brought in Denico Autry from the Titans, who had 11.5 sacks last year. And then linebacker Azeez Al-Shire, also from the Titans. So no doubt the Texans have built one of the most terrifying teams in the league, and they're getting ready to dominate. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think, all right? I'll see you guys in the next one.